I never thought I'd be having this conversation. Not at 72 years old, not in my own home, and certainly not with someone I'd welcomed into my life like a daughter. My name is Eleanor. I've lived in this house for 43 years. 43. My first husband, God rest him, and I bought it in 1981 for $47,000. Can you believe that? We poured everything into it, every penny we had. Back then, nobody wanted this neighbourhood. It was rough around the edges, crime-riddled, property taxes were a joke. But Robert and I saw something others didn't. We saw potential. We saw home. We spent decades here, raised our 2 kids here. Robert passed away in 2006, and I kept this place. It was paid off by then. No mortgage, no debt, just mine. Free and clear, the way I wanted it. In 2015, I met Harold at a bridge club. He was kind, funny, had this laugh that made everyone around him lighter. He'd been widowed about 8 years by then. We got close. By 2017, we were married. He moved in with me. This house became ours, though legally it was still just mine. We never changed the deed. He had a pension, I had my social security and what Robert had left me. We were comfortable. Not rich, but comfortable. Harold had a daughter from his first marriage. Her name was Patricia. She was 41 when Harold married me, had her own apartment, her own life, though she'd always been what I'd call financially precarious. Job to job, apartment to apartment. Harold helped her out sometimes. I never minded. That's what people do for family. Then, in 2019, Patricia's situation got worse. She lost a job, broke up with a boyfriend who'd been helping with rent. She asked Harold if she could stay for a month or 2 until she got back on her feet. He asked me. I said yes. I had the space. I'm not heartless. That month turned into 3 months. 3 months became a year. A year became almost 5 years. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I didn't resent it at times. A woman in my house, working part-time as a dental hygienist, paying maybe $200 a month in groceries, but refusing to contribute to utilities or rent. She'd stay in what used to be my sewing room, leave dishes in the sink, use my car for work without asking. Harold would tell me to be patient. She'll get on her feet, he'd say. She just needs time. In January 2024, Harold had a stroke, a massive one. He was gone 3 days later. Patricia was devastated. We all were. But something changed in her after that. Something hardened. She stopped working so much, said she needed time to process, needed compassion. I gave her that. I was grief-stricken myself, but I understood. We shared that loss. I scattered Harold's ashes in our backyard by the oak tree he planted when we first married. In his will, he left Patricia about $12,000. Not a fortune, but a start. I thought she'd use it to get her own place. I thought that terrible waiting period would finally end. It didn't. By March 2024, I was serving her dinner every night while she sat in her room working on her laptop. And I mean this literally. She was always on her laptop, always on her phone. I asked what job she was working on. She got vague. Online stuff, she'd say, just trying to make money. I should have asked more questions. In November of that year, I sat down and had a serious conversation with her. I said, "Patricia, sweetie, it's been 5 years. I love you, I do, but I can't keep doing this. You're capable. You need to find your own place." She cried, said she had nowhere to go, said I was being cruel, said Harold would never have wanted this, that Harold, if he were alive, would have fought me on it. She said some harsh things, but the message was clear. She had no plan to leave. I contacted a lawyer, a local attorney named Mr. Chen. I told him I wanted Patricia out of my house, and I wanted to do it legally, properly, with proper notice. He explained that because she'd been living there as long as she had established residency. In my state, I couldn't just kick her out. I had to serve her with a formal eviction notice. 30 days, that was the minimum. I felt sick. My own house, and I had to follow legal procedures to remove someone from it. It was Christmas Eve when I made the decision. I was alone, looking at the tree Harold and I had decorated together just the year before. Patricia was in her room. I went to see Mr. Chen on the 27th and started the formal eviction process. Then came Friday, March 21st, 2025. I was making lunch in my kitchen, grilled cheese, some soup. The same kitchen where Robert and I had breakfast before work for 25 years. The same kitchen where Harold had made me coffee every morning for 8 years. The same kitchen where my grandchildren had learned to crack eggs and measure flour. Patricia came down. She was dressed nice, makeup done, which was unusual for a Friday morning at home. She pulled out one of the wooden chairs, the ones I'd inherited from my grandmother, and she sat down, deliberately, formally. Then she slid a piece of paper across the table. "What's this?" I asked. "That's your formal notice," she said, her voice cold. "I'm charging you $1,800 a month in rent, effective immediately. If you don't pay by Friday, you need to be gone by Sunday." I stared at that paper. My hands were shaking. On it was a typed letter, poorly written, claiming that she had tenant rights, and that since she'd been living in the house, it had become her residence, and therefore I owed her rent for the room, and she was establishing a lease. She'd written $1,800 a month. $1,800. I couldn't breathe for a moment. "Patricia," I said carefully, "this is my house. Legally," she said, "I have rights here. A lawyer told me. I've been here 5 years. That makes me a tenant, and tenants have protections." I think she believed it. I think she'd actually convinced herself that those papers on her laptop, whatever she'd been researching, gave her some kind of authority in my home. I put down my sandwich. I didn't eat it. I went to my bedroom and I sat on my bed and I cried. Not angry tears, sad tears, betrayed tears. This girl, because that's what she was, still a girl in so many ways, despite being 47. had gone from a desperate woman I'd taken in to someone who thought she could charge me rent in my own home. I sat there for maybe an hour, just thinking. Then I picked up the phone. I called Mr. Chen. "She did what?" he said. I read him the paper. I told him the whole situation. There was silence on the other end. Then he laughed. Not mocking, just relieved for me somehow. "Eleanor," he said, "I've got good news and better news. 1. She can't charge you rent in a house you own outright. 2. What she just did is called illegal tenant harassment. She's not establishing a lease, she's committing a crime. And 3. We've already filed the eviction. She's living there unlawfully as of last month. That notice of hers, it just proved she understands she doesn't belong there." He had me photograph the letter. He filed it with the court that same day. He told me I had legal protection against retaliation. I was protected. That night, Patricia tried to act normal, made dinner, asked how my day was. I said, "Patricia, I'm going to be honest with you. I spoke to my lawyer. He's going to be sending you a formal eviction notice." Her face went white. "You can't do that," she whispered. "I can," I said, "and I am. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live." She didn't say another word. She went upstairs and slammed the door so hard the whole house shook. That was Friday evening. By Sunday morning, I heard movement in her room, frantic movement, drawers opening and closing. She was on her phone, crying, talking to someone. Then she was dragging bags down the stairs, garbage bags, suitcases, all of it. I came out of the kitchen and she was standing there with her eyes red, mascara running, surrounded by bags. "I'm leaving," she said. "I know," I said. "You're kicking me out," she said. "After everything." "After everything what?" I asked, and I meant it. "After I let you live here rent-free for 5 years. After I fed you. After I welcomed you into my home after your father died." "I have nowhere to go," she said. "You have $12,000 your father left you," I said. "That's a deposit on an apartment. That's furniture. That's a fresh start. I'm not keeping you from anything. I'm asking you to stand on your own 2 feet." She called me cruel, cold. She said Harold would have wanted her to stay. She said I was punishing her for grieving. None of it landed anymore. By noon, she was packed. By 2 p.m, a friend of hers came and picked her up. I watched from the porch as she loaded the car. She didn't look back. On Monday morning, I made coffee in my kitchen, and I sat at my grandmother's table in the house I'd bought with Robert, in the place where I'd lived for 43 years, and I cried. But they were different tears this time. 3 months later, I heard through the grapevine that Patricia had gotten an apartment about 30 minutes away. She'd used some of her inheritance. She's working as a hygienist full-time again. I heard she was doing okay. I hope she is. I really do. And I hope she learned something about entitlement and gratitude and the difference between kindness and weakness. But I know I learned something. I learned that sometimes the people we help the most will be the first ones to turn on us. I learned that good intentions can be mistaken for consent to be taken advantage of. And I learned that standing firm, even when it breaks your heart, is sometimes the only loving thing you can do. The sewing room is a sewing room again. I've been making quilts. My daughter-in-law asked me to make one for her new baby. My grandchildren visit on weekends, and they run through this house like it belongs to them. Because it does, and someday it will be theirs. And me? I'm just grateful to be home. My home. The one Robert and I dreamed of. The one I fought for. The one I wasn't about to lose to someone who'd forgotten what it meant to be grateful for a roof over her head. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to become who they're meant to be, even if that means they have to do it without you.